Welcome to Friday's Book Club. Okay, hello friends. By the way, I am using my tripod. My camera is on my tripod now. Sitting on my little TV tray. And, you know, I got it aimed at me. I love it, I love it, I love it. This is our Friday's The Book Club video. And let me get I should have done this before I started the video, but oh well, anyway. So, this is our 5th week of doing this. So, I only have 4 categories. So, we're back at the category 1 again, which is book club meeting, the normal things you do at book clubs. This one that we have to do, it says tell about our book. So, we just have to tell about a book we read. At this precise moment in time, I am not reading on a book because I have finished the last book I was reading, which was this one. Agatha Christie, t.b.c.m. Come back to your paper. My papers are blowing away. It's several different little stories in it, is what it is. So I'm going to tell you what I can remember of the stories that's in it. And the way I tell about books, I don't know how to not put what they call spoilers in there. So if you're the type of person that don't like spoilers, like if you end up like in this book and decide to read it and you don't want any spoilers, then you probably better not watch this video. I'm sorry, I do not know how to do that. And the enjoyment that I have of doing this type of thing is just telling you about the story. You know, everything about it. I don't know how to not do spoilers. So I'm putting that up front there as I guess what they call a disclaimer. I'm going to have to move my papers somewhere else. They keep trying to blow off. I swanny. Okay, sorry about that interruption. So here we go. It has, I'm going to go to the list where it's got them named. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I have to count them because they're not numbered. But it's 8 little stories. Neat. Can y'all see that and read that like that? I get all crooked. I don't know how to straighten that out. Alright, here we get back over here. So there's the names. It's still crooked. It's 8 stories. Okay, I'm going to read the title of each one, and then if I can remember what it was about, tell you about it, what I can remember of it. My mind is not good these days. Sorry about that. So the first one is t.b.c.m. It was about, alright, Hercule Parrot, which is the way I say it, it's probably not the way you say his name, is Agatha Christie's detective in this story. And, he's with a friend and they're getting on a train going somewhere to visit another place. And on the train they meet this young girl that is, see, I may have it all confused and mixed up. I can't remember things real well, but she has an aunt back at home. They have an antique shop. So they sell antiques. She helps her aunt. They work together. So she's got a suitcase full of antiques. And she meets Hercule Parrot and his friend, and they start talking, you know, just friendly. Well, she explains their business and what they do, but she is adding in there, she's telling Hercule Parrot and them fibs. What it is, her and her aunt are criminals. They, like, sell antiques to somebody, but then somehow or another, they pretend they get stolen, and then they end up getting them back, and then they resell them, the same ones, to keep reselling them and making more money. And so that's the mystery part that has to get solved. But she's telling, I'm not going to be able to remember the way she tells Hercule Parrot and them about their business or whatever, but while she's with them on the train talking to them, she pretends that a guy has grabbed her suitcase and went with it, and she jumps up and runs. And And really, that's all I know how to say. See, in my mind, I'm not. This is going to be. It's probably going to be confusing for y'all. So y'all probably won't have any spoilers in here anyway. So anyway, but in doing that, they finally get to where they're going, and Hercule Parrot like is puzzled over, and my lights went dim again on my thing. Let me mash this button that I do to light it back up. Sorry about that. I don't know why. I wish somebody would tell me why that goes dim. Is it supposed to? I've watched my videos and I ain't never noticed where on the video as you're watching it on YouTube it goes dim. But if y'all notice that, please let me know. Let me know how I can fix that or stop that from doing that, or is that normal? Is it supposed to do that? Okay, back to the book. So they get to where they going, and they end up, because Hercule Parrot's been puzzling over that girl and what all she said, and so he goes and sees this guy that they are supposedly sold the antiques from, or bought the antiques from, or something other. And somehow or another in there, Hercule Parrot figures the thing out, and he goes and visits the aunt, and it ends up being that I think the aunt was the one that was dressed up like a guy that actually stole the suitcase, and they get and I think I'm getting another story mixed up with and about that, but anyway, he ends up figuring the mystery out. My husband's coming in. I'm going to have to stop this and redo it later and hook it on. See you later. Okay, guys, back to our book club. I'm sorry about that. But, anyway, Hercule Parrot ends up solving the mystery. And he goes to the aunt's house. And he figures out what they were doing, and he tells them. So he solved the mystery and I guess turned them into the police or something like that. So the second story was Wasp's Nest. Hercule Parrot comes to an old friend's house in a different town, and they sit on the porch and talk, and Hercule Parrot asks him something about killing a wasp's nest, and has he ever heard of a certain way to do it, and explains that way, which ends up with some kind of poisoning stuff, which could be dangerous for a person also to kill them. And they mentioned another person. Hang on, Junior. Sorry about that. I'm going to have to get up and let him in, but I'm going to continue to talk. They mention another person. He mentions another person that's supposed to come visit that friend. And I don't remember names. On a certain day at a certain time to kill the wasps and get rid of the wasp nest. And Hercule Parrot kept telling that friend that he was sitting there talking to that the other person, or he didn't really say that, but he was talking in a roundabout way that made that person think that he thought that person that was coming was going to kill him. And so he leaves, and he comes back that day, that time that person was coming there, but he ended up being late. And as he was going in the gate for the yard, that guy that was to come kill the wasps was walking out. So he was thinking he might be, he asked him, you know, I'm not good at this, I'm sorry, y'all. He talked to the guy as he was coming out and asked him where was Hercule Parrot at home and everything. He said, yes, he's on the porch. So he went in to see him. That guy was still alive, so he talked to him. And he told him what he found out. And it wasn't that he thought the other person was going to kill him. It was that he thought that guy with the wasp nest was going to try to commit suicide and kill himself. But he ended up changing his mind and not doing it after Hercule Parrot had talked to him. And then he explained to the guy that before he came that other time and told him all that and asked him all those questions, that he was actually there in town and had met that guy that was coming to kill the wasps for him and talked to him. That's how he knew that the guy was coming to kill the wasps and all that, and how he got and what he got for it and to kill it, and how he thought and why he thought that that guy was going to commit suicide, because he was having that guy get this certain stuff to kill the wasp's nest, but he planned on using it to commit suicide, but ended up not doing it. So there you go, there's that story. Like I said, I'm not good at this. Okay, story number 3, the theft of the royal ruby. Okay, there was a prince, And he has this ruby that was gave to him down in generations of the family. And he was taking it to get crowned, to get cleaned, I'm sorry. But while he had it, he was taking it like to a different place, a different town. While he had it on him, before he got it cleaned, or before he was going to get it cleaned, the girlfriend that he was with, he was always, it wasn't really a steady girlfriend, it was always just, I guess, dating a bunch of girls, and this was one of them. And she asked to wear it for a little bit before he took it to be cleaned. And so he gave in and let her wear it. Well, she gets up and excuses herself to go to the bathroom while she's wearing the ruby. So she never comes back. In other words, she ran away, stole the ruby. Hercule Parrot was invited to an old house to celebrate Christmas, old school way, olden day way. He didn't know how it all went and everything. And the deal was that he was coming there to solve the mystery. The prince was also there. He was the boyfriend of one of the daughters or nieces of the family. And they didn't think he was a good guy for her. And they tried to get her to not go with him, but she did anyway. And Hercule Parrot was there. He visited the aunt or the mama, I can't remember which one it was. Seems like it was either one, or grandma or something. Told the story of the daughter and the prince. Not about the ruby though, but how they didn't think the prince was good for the girl and all that kind of stuff. And he got to, have the Christmas and see about that. And all of that was real. It wasn't pretend for him to be there and solve a mystery. But anyway, he figured out the mystery. On Christmas, they ate a pie where they put, and I like this idea, I actually want to do this sometimes. You bake a pie, but you put all kind of different things inside of it. And when you cut it and give it to people, everybody ends up with something. But each little thing represents something else. For instance, like there was a thimble in there, and that meant that you was going to be an old maid. There was I ain't going to be able to remember all of them, But anyway, it was just different little things like that. One meant to be married, one meant to be a bachelor. All kind of stuff, So one of the little things in the thing was that ruby that ended up missing. And Hercule Parrot sneaked it in his pocket. And he knew it was the prince. Or maybe it wasn't the prince. Maybe it was the guy. Maybe that girl was the one that stole it. I don't know. I can't remember, Like I said, I'm not good at this. So anyway, the kids, because they knew Hercule Parrot was a detective and solved mysteries, they made this plan up to plan a mystery, fake something. So, because there was a bunch of little kids, so they faked like one of the girls got killed, which she really didn't. They were only playing, they had catch up, and they played like she was dead and blah, 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 blah. But the thing about it, when they were talking and making their plans about this, they was outside the library window. Hercule Parrot was in the library sitting by the window, and he heard them talking about it and making their plans, so he knew what they were going to do. So in other words, this really helped him to figure out a way to help him solve his mystery. So that night he went to the girl that was supposed to play dead. He told her that he heard their plan, knew what they were going to do, asked her if he would work with him and play it back on the other kids, but to help him solve a mystery. She agreed. So what he had her to do was, after she played the part of being dead for the kids' plan, and then they, after they told him and laughed about it and said, okay, now you can get up, Alice, or whatever her name was. Alice just came to my mind. It might have been her name. Might have not been. But anyway, that's what I'm calling her. So, they would tell her to get up. It's over with. Hercule knows it was a trick and blah, blah, blah. She don't get up. She still lays there and don't move and still pretends to be dead. And Hercule Parrot, feels for her pulse, and he makes out like, oh my God, she's really dead, and he gets everybody out of the way, and they call an ambulance and blah, 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 blah. She had the guy that had the diamond ring thing that had stolen it a while ago, or whatever. He claims that he's going to go call the police and let me go get somebody. But what he does is he runs inside and he plays out like the phone is connected, you know, the wire cut or something other, he can't get through, and he's got to run and go get the police. So he jumps in the car and takes off really fast, speeding out of there. He's not really going to the police, he's just leaving and getting out of there. And he took the diamond, I think it was in Alice's pocket or something other, and he snuck it out or something. And so, but what he didn't know was Hercule Poirot had traded it for a fake one, and he really had that real one. And then after all that was over with, he told everybody, you know, the real thing, and he had Alice to walk in. They seen she really wasn't dead, and blah, 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 all like that. So that's what that one was about, number 3. Number 4 is the dressmaker's doll. This is the one I told y'all. It's still, in a way, you know, the story, the beginning of the story, the middle of the story, all through the whole story, except for the very ending of it, I enjoyed the best out of all 8 of these. But it ended in a way that I didn't like. You know, it was very disappointing. So what it was, this lady is a dressmaker, and she lives in a home, and she uses one of the rooms in her home that's like her workshop where she makes the dresses at. So people come in and shop, and she measures them, and she makes dresses for them and stuff like that. And there's kids that lives in the home too. And then she has like a maid and a dressmaker assistant, you know, in the workshop. So one day a customer's there, and she recognizes, well, actually the assistant walks in the room, and she notices, she like, you know, it's, what's the word for it, like a jerk reaction, like, you know, she's seen a doll sitting in a chair, and it's like, where'd that come from? But then she looks at it, and she feels like that it's creepy. It gives her a creepy feeling, but then yet she also feels like that's always been there. I've always seen it. So she goes on about her business, but she also asks the dressmaker lady about it. The dressmaker lady can't remember how long she's had it, where she got it, if somebody gave it to her, or what. And then customers come in and ask about it, and they don't like it. It makes them feel creepy. And then the doll starts moving from one place to the other. They move it out of one. What starts it is they move it off the chair that they found it on and put it on a couch, okay? Well, when they walk back in the room, the doll's back on that same chair, in the same position it was in. They change its position, and then they look again, and it's back in the same position. Then it starts moving on its own. They quit moving it, but they leave out of the room, and they'll go back in, and they see it sitting at the desk like it's writing a letter. And they're scared to get rid of it. They think it's always been there, but it makes them feel creepy and blah, 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 blah. And then finally they get worried about it. They lock the room up and don't go in there. And then they decide, well, we got to go in and clean. Who's going to clean? They, you know, all kind of stuff like that. They end up finally deciding to get rid of it. So one of them, I can't remember who it was, and it might have been the dressmaker lady herself, takes it, walks to the window, and throws it out. And they live up high in a building, so they go to the window and look down, and it has landed down there on the concrete sidewalk. And then they watch a little girl come up, and the little girl grabs, she's looking around like nobody's watching, and then she grabs the doll and starts to walk away with it. But they holler at her and say, put that doll down, you can't have that doll. And it don't say it, but I take it as like they worried that that little girl should not have this doll, not that they want it because they think it's theirs, but because of the creepy way it made them feel and how it moves on its own, they're afraid for that little girl to have it. So they try to get her to put it down, but she don't. She runs away with it, and that's how it ends. Now you see, now really and truly in real life, there's no doll that's going to move around on its own. They should have made that have some kind of a, you know, a mystery to be solved, a trickery way that doll's being moved, that somebody's hiding in there or sneaking in there and moving it, and you know, and it didn't. They just let the little girl go off with it, and that was it. I was so disappointed in that, but yet I loved the storyline. If they had a different, better ending for it, you know. Okay, Greenshaw's Folly. I'm thinking that's the one. It's a big castle. An old maid lady that never got married lived there with a maid and a gardener. And she inherited it from her dad. But she's like a hermit. She stays in, she don't get out. People hardly see her. And so, who ended up going there? I can't remember if it was Hercule Poirot. Because some of these have Jane Marple in it as the detective. And I can't remember. I think Jane Marple was the one for this one. And so 2 men end up coming to visit her house. One of them was very interested in history and the history of buildings and homes and stuff, and that's why he wanted to come there. So his friend brought him there because he knew about the lady. I mean, he knew of her, who she was, and why she lived there, and that she inherited it from her family and all that. So he took this other guy, his friend, there and told him all about it. So they ended up seeing her because they was walking outside around the grounds looking at the house. They ended up seeing the lady in the garden, so they talked to her. She took them in and showed them something, you know, showed them around inside. And then she asked, because the guy that knew about her, that was bringing his friend that was interested in history, is a lawyer. So she asked him about, like, doing up a will. And he told her, yeah. So later, after they left one day, she called and said she did want to do that. Well, no, he called her and told her he had a friend, because he had talked to, his aunt was Aunt Jane Marple. He talked to her. She knew of somebody that could do write up the, I hope I'm getting this right, the will. No, that's something else. No, yeah, no, a job. Write up her book or something other, her autobiography book, and somebody could type it up for her, diaries or whatever, journal. And so Aunt Jane knew somebody that could do that, so he called her to tell her, and she said, yeah, I'll hire her. So they came and hired. But what I missed, well, I was getting screwed up, mixed up there, before that, while they were there the first day, she actually did something and had them to sign it, you know, as the lawyer signing it, and the other man as a witness. It was like a will thing. She wrote it up. She was leaving the house to her maid. And so then now she's hired this Aunt Jane's niece, I think, or something other, to go do this, type up the journals for her. So she goes there and starts working and doing this every day. So while she's doing this one day, she's in the library working and typing up the journal, and she goes to the window. No, she hears a scream. She goes to the window and looks out, and the lady of the house is staggering, and she turns around and she sees a bow in her heart, or in her chest, and she's saying, he shot me, and you couldn't see, and she was kind of like pointing down the hill mountain thing to the he. And then she falls over dead. So that lady runs and tries to get out of the door, but her door's locked. So she goes back to the window and hollers and talks, and the maid is in another window, and she hollers out and says, I'm locked in too, you know. And but finally cops come and they let them out, and they do their investigation, asking questions and all this, and ended up what it was. Miss Marple ended up thinking about it too and helping solve the mystery. She had to tell the cop because he couldn't figure it out. So anyway, what it ended up being, the lady they seen shot and staggering was not really shot. She was holding the arrow, and it was not really the lady of the house. It was the maid herself. So the maid herself had, days before, already killed the lady of the house and had her hid somewhere. And that day that lady was there at the library with her windows open, she did that for her to see, and she was saying, he shot me, and pointing. And also, before she fell dead, I forgot to tell you this, she had looked up at the other window, like she was looking towards the other window, like she was talking to the maid and calling her, and I can't remember her name, saying, please help, call help, 911 or whatever, which back in the days it probably wasn't 911, you know, but whatever. Maybe it was call the cops, I don't know, but anyway. So, to make that girl that was working in the library think that the maid was up there then, and that she was talking to her, so it would seem like the maid couldn't have done it, you know. This is going to be a long video, yeah. Anyway. So anyway, then she had fell down, but in a place that they couldn't see her from the window, or that lady couldn't see her from the window. So then she runs back inside, because before she had locked that lady's door of the library so she couldn't get out. So she goes to her room then and hollers out to her at the out the window saying that her door's locked too, which it really wasn't, you know. And so what it was, she knew they had did the will for her money, and she wanted to hurry up and become owner of the house and all that money, and so she killed that lady. So that was that story. Okay, the double clue. I'm not remembering anything about the double clue. The last seance. This lady does seances. It's really like weakening her down to where she could die. Her fiance she's fixing to marry is helping her do the last one, and she ain't gonna do no more. Her maid's worried about her too. Make sure when you marry her she does not do any more, she tells him, and all this. But then the last lady comes in for the last seance. Her child had died, and she's wanting to see her child. And so through the seance, the child comes, alive through the seance lady, and she ends up dying. If I remember, I really can't remember if she does end up dying or what. But anyway, that's kind of all I remember about that. Sorry guys, told y'all I wasn't very good at this. Alright, the sanctuary. There's a church. The pastor's wife is putting flowers in there. She sees a man bent over the altar. She goes to him. He's dying. He's still alive. She feels his pulse. He's still alive but very weak and dying, and he says one word to her, sanctuary. And so she calls 911. They come. By then he's dead. They had took his coat off, and she had it. Then some other people come to her house, and they're asking her questions, and then they ask for his coat. She goes up to get it. She finds it, and she finds a loose thread, and she pulls it, and some jewels fall out. And also, he had said a word, jewel. She thought she said jewel. He said jewels or something like that. Anyway, so she don't give him the coat. She told him she couldn't. No, she does give him the coat. She takes all the jewels out and keeps them. She sews that back up in a way that you can't see it and notice it. Then she gives it to him, takes it down and gives it to him. And she keeps the jewels. And she goes to Miss Marple, talks to her about it, tells her the situation and what she thought and what she figured out and what she done, and wanted to know what Miss Marple thought about it. My battery's fixing to die. I gotta hurry up or I'm gonna lose this. Anyway, and she ends up, he was in prison. He got out because his daughter, somebody in her town there that she knows was, I'm trying to hurry here, was fostering his daughter, and he wanted the daughter to have something, I guess that money that he'd stole from, that jewels that he stole from somewhere, I can't really remember it all now. And Miss Marple helps her solve it and all that. So there you go. That was the last story. I hope y'all enjoyed this. I'm sorry it took so long. I'm sorry I wasn't good at telling the stories and I couldn't remember all of them and everything about it. And y'all do the same. Make a video telling about one of the books or the book that the last book y'all have read and finished. Tell about the whole book. What you liked about it and what you didn't like about it. Alright guys. That's it for this Friday. Hope you enjoyed it. I'm done. I'm gone. Toodaloo. The end.